That's crazy. I didn't think there would be a slide that big.
The world's tallest inflatable water slide invades Albuquerque, and aging pets get a new look on life thanks to a senior sanctuary, and
all of their memories, everything that they had in those homes, it was destroyed.
10 years later, New Mexico's first responders reflect on an unforgettable storm.
We'll get to those stories in just a few moments. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to KRQE News 13. I'm Emily Younger.
And I'm Chris Gilson. It is Sunday, August 30th. Hopefully you're enjoying your weekend, and thanks for spending part of your Sunday morning with us.
A wonderful Sunday morning. A bright, beautiful, calm.
Yeah, much different than yesterday afternoon. For a few minutes,
it got interesting.
Yes.
I didn't see much of it where I live, but...
Yeah. We had the quick downpour in parts of the heights and the foothills. We'll show you that video coming up a little bit later in the show. But of course, this morning, a gorgeous morning as you head out the door first thing on your Sunday morning to breakfast or for that morning walk or run. Looking pretty good. Temperatures right now also on the cool and comfortable side. Middle 60s here in the metro. Needing the jacket though in Grants at 49, 46 in Taos. Middle 60s stretching down into the southern half of the state. 64 in Alamogordo and 60 degrees this morning in Roswell. By lunchtime, we're sitting in the lower 80s here in the metro with a mix of sun and clouds. A slight chance for a pop-up storm later on today. So if you do have some outdoor plans or headed out to the Isotopes game, kind of like your Saturday, just keep the rain gear nearby. May have to dodge a few raindrops later on today. We'll talk about our rain chances for the week ahead coming up in just a few minutes.
Well, new this morning, the Bernalillo County clerk is speaking out after the New Mexico Attorney General accused one of the state's top officials of embezzlement and money laundering. Attorney General Hector Balderas handed down the charges on Friday, accusing Secretary of State Diana Duran of burning through her campaign funds at local casinos. According to the complaint, Duran made massive transfers of money from campaign-related accounts to personal accounts. Those transfers were often followed by large withdrawals from New Mexico casinos.
And here's a situation. You have someone in a high public place with a public trust. How do you expect to not get caught doing stuff like this?
Bernalillo County Clerk Maggie Toolhouse Oliver released a statement over the weekend reading in part, quote, "I hope and trust that there can be a swift and fair resolution of this matter so the Office of the Secretary of State can focus completely on the important work it's supposed to do for all New Mexicans." Now, we've reached out to Secretary Duran. We have not heard back. What was Tropical Storm Erica has weakened after drenching Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and Haiti. Haiti authorities say one person died in a mudslide and at least 4 others were killed in a traffic accident caused by the horrendous road conditions left behind. Around 20 people died in Dominica when Erica hit that small island. More people are missing. Now, remnants of the storm are expected to hit portions of Florida today, bringing in heavy rain and wind. We now turn to the 10-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, a storm so powerful it took the city of New Orleans by surprise. And as the storm left, a nation stepped in to help, including some first responders from New Mexico. News 13's Madeline Schmidt has their story.
When we drove in actually to New Orleans, the first thing that we were confronted with were bodies wrapped up in sheets.
As most of the country sat and watched, there were those who got up and went toward the disaster of Hurricane Katrina. A handful of them were from New Mexico.
We see death every day, but not like that.
From Bernalillo County, 38 sheriff's deputies and 5 firefighters. And from FEMA's New Mexico Task Force 1, 75 responders.
It doesn't feel like it's already been 10 years. It really seems like it was just last week for a lot of us.
As the 1-decade anniversary hits, memories are resurfacing. Former Sheriff Darren White recalls the difficulty in convincing flood victims to leave their homes.
They were so afraid that if they left their homes, that they'd never see them again. All of their memories, everything that they had in those homes, it was destroyed.
White, along with firefighter Tony Pittarelli and FEMA's Matt Propp, all used the words challenging and difficult when recalling their time in the flooded city.
We had an incident where we were crossing over a median in an airboat and we hit a pylon in the middle and it threw the sheriff and a couple officers right off the boat.
Through the bad, they were able to find good, changing the lives of people who desperately needed their help.
We were able to rescue over 200 people.
But their lives were changed too.
I think everybody that came out of it is a better police officer, a better fireman, better EMT.
We weren't really prepared for the magnitude of what we saw out there, and I think a lot of people are still kind of recovering from that.
Madeline Schmidt, KRQE News 13.
Now, former Sheriff White says he feels a bit of pride in seeing how far New Orleans has come since the disaster, knowing he played a small part in helping the city out. Meanwhile, in New Orleans, thousands commemorated the more than 1,800 lives lost during the storm. The city held a vigil, including a wreath-laying ceremony to honor those whose bodies were not found. Speakers, including President Bill Clinton and the New Orleans mayor, highlighted the ways the city has recovered since Hurricane Katrina. And many parts of the area, you can see tremendous progress in rebuilding the city. But the poorer communities are still struggling. Some people there say they're confident the city will find a way to overcome. We turn now to a developing story out of Houston. Just 24 hours after a deputy was gunned down, authorities now have his accused killer in custody. This morning, 30-year-old Shannon Miles sits behind bars charged with capital murder. He's accused of shooting and killing Harris County Deputy Darren Goforth because he wore a badge.
It is time to come forward and support law enforcement and condemn this atrocious act.
Goforth was at a gas station fueling up his patrol car Friday night when police say Miles opened fire, shooting him in the back again and again. This isn't Miles' first run-in with the law. He's been charged with trespassing and disorderly conduct with a firearm, just to name a few. Goforth was a 10-year veteran of the sheriff's office. Meanwhile, back here at home, we did some checking this morning and found the Albuquerque woman involved in a hit-and-run crash with 2 kids in her car remains locked up. APD says Crystal Blanton was driving on Tramway Friday night when she hit a motorcyclist with her SUV, then drove off. They say she got a ride from her mom to return to the scene. Police say when they questioned Blanton, she admitted to driving drunk and having her 2 daughters with her. She was arrested after refusing a sobriety test. The rider suffered a broken femur and a broken pelvis. New information this morning in the fight against childhood obesity. Researchers say getting children up off the couch, even for short breaks, is good for their health. Researchers in Washington, D.C. say interrupting long periods of TV watching or video game playing with just a few minutes of activity can improve blood sugar levels. And happening today, officials in California are planning to assess the waters in San Diego before reopening the beach there after a giant shark sighting yesterday. Now take a look for yourself. The shark was seen circling kayakers near the San Diego coast. Lifeguards say the hammerhead was being aggressive to a group of swimmers earlier in the day. Now no one was hurt, but officials had to close down the beach.
It kicks off to remember a Rio Rancho officer killed in the line of duty. How you can help the cause. Also, a man accused of trying to pick his kids up from school drunk faces a judge. And
this guy was one of the biggest creeps out there.
A man lurking around in Albuquerque Park who creeped out a lot of parents is now behind bars. How police say they caught him.
We'll get to those stories in just a few moments. Good morning. I'm Emily Younger.
And I'm Chris Gilson. It is Sunday, August 30th. Thanks for joining us this morning.
A good day to get outside.
Yeah, another good one. And even better than yesterday, in fact.
Because the storms aren't quite, we're not going to get as many.
Yeah, not as widespread as
there
yesterday.
You go.
Yeah. So even less of a chance for the metro to pick up some rain today, but we will have that chance for a few storms, especially around the higher terrain in places like Taos, Red River, Angel Fire. And this is a look at the northern mountains. A pretty nice sunrise, plenty of clear skies, and a lot of clear skies to check out the supermoon last night. If you missed it, we'll have a few pictures coming up in just a few minutes. But right now, temperatures starting out in the middle of 60s here in the metro, lower 50s in Santa Fe, and the 60s stretching down, getting close to 70 degrees already this morning. morning in places like KRQE and Las Cruces, but still sitting in the upper 50s in Silver City. So as we head into the afternoon, those temperatures warming up pretty quickly with a mix of sun and clouds by lunchtime, sitting in the lower 80s. Slight chance for a storm today, so keep the rain gear nearby, especially if you're headed out to the Isotopes game later on tonight. High temperatures topping out near 90 degrees. We'll talk about how long these rain chances will stick around coming up and your full forecast in just a few minutes.
Police say he exposed himself to kids at a local park again and again. Now that man is behind bars. And as News 13's Candace Hopkins reports, pictures and video we captured help lead them to the arrest. And we do want to warn you, some viewers may find these images disturbing.
It's a face that's all too familiar to visitors of Roosevelt Park.
You know, he's pretty quiet and he kind of creeps around, and he's got some mental issues.
Marcus Houston says the man has approached his son twice while touching himself. A woman says she caught him doing the same thing Wednesday afternoon. That's when she snapped this picture. Police say it's 35-year-old Jason Galloway.
This guy was one of the biggest creeps out there, right? Mr. Galloway here, exposing himself to children.
Police responded after Wednesday's incident but couldn't find him. We brought the picture to the park to get reaction and instead found Galloway himself. Police say this video helped with their investigation.
Definitely Channel 13 helped a lot on this because you guys were identifying him. You put him in the park with the video.
A rookie officer and his training officer found him this morning. They discovered he was already wanted for failing to show up to court in June for an indecent exposure case. Now he could be facing much more serious charges.
Now the investigation continues to find other victims around the Roosevelt Park area. The detectives will want to talk to them, and this will probably evolve into a felony case of child exploitation.
Galloway's arrest is a relief for many here.
We come to the park to have a good time, and not that kind of stuff is it's really inappropriate. We're really glad that he's actually not here no more and off the streets and off the parks where a lot of kids come and have fun.
I know that we have an issue having enough police in enough places all the time, but it is something that they should be worried about, and it isn't trivial.
Candace Hopkins, KRQE News 13.
Galloway is being held on a $200 bond for the warrant relating to the missed court date from June. APD says they are looking for any other potential victims. Happening tomorrow, the trial for the man in connection with the beating death of his 9-year-old stepson, Omari Varela, is expected to begin. Stephen Casals is going on trial for child abuse resulting in death and tampering with evidence. Prosecutors say Omari was kicked to death by his mom in 2013 and Casals did nothing to stop it. Cynthia Varela Casals, Omari's mother, will stand trial separately. Her case is on hold while the state decides if she's competent to stand trial. The man police say tried to pick his kids up from school drunk is back out on the street this morning. Police say they got a call that a man was stumbling to his car at an elementary school. They say when an officer arrived, he saw 38-year-old Jeremiah Glenn with bloodshot eyes. They say he reeked of booze. Police say Glenn admitted to having 2 drinks, a shot, and beer that morning. Authorities say he failed a sobriety test and was arrested. Yesterday, while in court, Glenn raised an issue with the judge.
I guess the only question I have, Your Honor, is I can't have any contact with my children whatsoever.
I'm not saying at a future date you will not be allowed to have contact with the children, but given the allegations in this complaint for right now, I'm ordering that you not have contact with those children.
The judge did dramatically cut Glenn's bond because of his lack of criminal history. This morning, some residents in parts of Santa Fe County can now drink their water without having to boil it first. The advisory was issued Friday morning for the Las Campañas water system. Multiple tests on the water there showed E. coli in the water earlier in the week, meaning it could have been in contact with sewage or animal waste. Well, new this morning, a baseball fan is dead after falling from the upper deck during an Atlanta Braves game. Officers are now investigating the cause of the fall. This is video from outside Turner Field, where authorities say the man, believed to be in his early 60s, was watching the Braves play the New York Yankees last night. Officials say he landed head first on a concrete walkway in front of dozens of fans. The game continued. The man was taken to the hospital where he later died. Authorities do not suspect foul play. Well, happening today, a benefit fundraiser in honor of fallen Rio Rancho officer Greg Nigel Benner. Officer Benner was gunned down in May during a traffic stop. Money raised at today's benefit will be used to establish a permanent memorial at the Rio Rancho Veterans Memorial Park, dedicated to Benner and all fallen officers from Rio Rancho PD and the Sandoval County Sheriff's Department. The Celebration of Life fundraiser starts at noon. It's being held at Club Rio Rancho. The event includes live music, food, and activities. This morning, the Smith Mountain Lake Chamber of Commerce in Virginia is opening its doors for the first time since the live TV shooting that killed reporter Allison Parker and Adam Ward. Yesterday, it was an emotional reopening filled with a vigil and short memorial as workers and community members gathered near the crime scene where a gunman opened fire, killing the two young journalists and injuring the woman they were interviewing. This morning, the third victim, Vicki Garner, is still recovering after being shot in the back.
She's recovering, and we're optimistic. She's got a road to hoe, but we thank God.
The stores at the plaza there are expected to open this week. Shop owners say they'll continue to keep the victims in their thoughts and prayers. Oh, here's a live look over Washington this morning where the campaign trail for the next president is heating up. Chris Christie went after Hillary Clinton yesterday while campaigning in New Hampshire, talking about the controversy surrounding her private email use. Clinton has repeatedly said she did not send or receive any classified material from her personal account. While speaking at the Democratic National Committee this weekend, Clinton cast herself as the party's best fit to go up against the eventual Republican nominee. Developing right now, residents in Washington are picking up the pieces this morning after strong winds and rain Saturday. The storm knocked down utility poles and trees across western Washington. It's also being blamed for killing